Good evening. Thank you for attending tonight's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We are here on September 4th, 2024 in the council chambers of the Tooele County Building. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. If I can get Tim Gilly to lead us in that, would be great.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next order of business will be a roll call of the commissioners. So Commissioner Dow. Here. Commissioner Bartholomew. Here. Commissioner Scott. Here. Commissioner Hope is here. Commissioner Stetz.
Here.
Commissioner Beckstrom.
Here. Commissioner
Elton. Present. Thank you. And Rochelle, for the record, he received Commissioner Knutson's email. Great. So for the record, she has resigned her place on the commission. So we'll miss her. She's a great lady. So the next order of business is number 3 is the reading of the minutes. And I believe we have 2 sets of minutes to accept rather. For June 19th and August 7th. Any questions, concerns, additions, subtractions? I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept June 19th meeting minutes as printed out.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 And it passes unanimously. And the next set of minutes on August 7th. Motion to approve. I'm sorry?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. It's been motion to approve.
Second.
And seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. So that concludes the minutes. The next order of business is our, hey, it came through, look at that. Is a rezone, and I believe, where's Trish? There she is. Trish has that for us. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, Trish Duclos, planning staff, presenting REZ 2024-109. This is a rezone request for a large property just west of the South Rim subdivision phases. Trying to find, it's just over 300 acres, so 307.66 acres in size. The request is to rezone it from an MU40, which is multiple use 40 acre minimum, to an RR1, which is a rural residential 1 acre minimum. The neighboring zone with South Rim is an RR5, and even with the RR5, they had a development agreement put in place so that you'll see that smaller lots are also in there. They range from like 1 to 3 acres average in that development. The general plan considerations is that it is consistent with the general plan update from 2022. If you look at the maps that I provided in the staff report, that area of the requested rezone is planned for residential. There's just a couple of concerns with water, just because we don't have proof of water yet, but that's also not required in a rezone application. We just like to let you guys know that the applicant does have sufficient water, that he can, he's gonna apply for more water rights there because it is open appropriation. If he is not granted those, he has water rights he can transfer over to that area. So he didn't want to take it from one if he can get more. So that's just how he explained it to me. And the applicant is here if you have more questions on that. They're going to do a water system that is similar to South Rim, like that. So then the neighbor response is, I did get a letter and they asked me to read that in this meeting because they are not able to attend. So I'll go through this. So this is from John Drabick and Charlotte Drabick. I hope I said that right. From 2994 West Ridgeline Road. that says, "Dear Commissioners, we will not be able to attend the public meeting regarding the above proposed subdivision." Oh, you want me to wait? I can wait for public hearing. Sorry, I forget about it. You have to open a public hearing for that.
Correct.
I'll wait for that one. Okay, is there any other? Let's see, so. So the planning staff analysis, so the applicant did get a very detailed traffic study in, and the only main concern that I could see when I was reading through it, I don't know if a lot of you had a chance to read through all of that document, but the biggest concern it has is the intersection at Stockton City and Silver Avenue, where Connor Avenue and Grant Avenue intersect, because I think it was Grant that comes in on a weird angle. And so they're just proposing that somewhere in the future, as this development comes through completely, at full build out, they can, in 2029, they expect that intersection to have, they would request that Stockton City improve that intersection there. But that's the only major concern that they could see, and that's mainly just because Grant comes off in a weird angle and it creates a bad viewpoint from everybody's intersection there. It does increase the traffic substantially through that area at full build out in 2029. But that's the only major concern that they could see. And that's mainly just at PM peak hours when people are coming home from work and things like that. And I think that's all I had for now. You guys have any other questions or concerns? Like I said, the applicant is here too. He can answer some things.
I missed your comment about RR5 and smaller zones. What did that refer to?
The South Rim subdivision, so
For-
they're in
for
a
current
development agreement that gives them, they can cluster the lots with open spaces. And so that's what that subdivision has done, even though it's an RR5, which is a 5 acre minimum. Because they provided the open space elsewhere, it still complies with that 5 acre minimum. They just clustered the lots into other, so they're smaller. They're, I think the smallest is about just over an acre.
So what would be your idea of rezoning the current property to R5 to provide for open space and?
We don't currently, well, they'd have to go through, when South Rim was created, it was under a different subdivision code. And so we don't have that same code that South Rim was created in. There are possibilities for things like that. We have a conservation subdivision that they could go through. The hardest thing with that is that they would have to have sewer and water systems. And with the area here, they're gonna have a water system, but they won't have a sewer system. They'll have to have septics. So that's not gonna be a possibility for them to do that in that area.
So if it were rezoned RR5, they would not have the ability to do open space and smaller lots?
Only if they could find a way to do a sewer system in that area.
And that's governed by what?
It would be like a public, a private system, kind of similar to what Stansbury has. They just have their own infrastructure district.
I know, but what zoning regulation would not allow that, the RR5 open space and smaller lots?
It would be its own, it would be its own zone, completely different from this.
Okay. And we don't have the ability to do that under current code?
Not with the request
What would
currently.
the request have to be then, or what would have to be?
Yeah, it would have to be it would have to request it would have to be either the PC or the conservation.
Thank you.
Okay, I had a question. On page 9, not that it matters, it has the lot area and then each of these minimums, 40 acre, 5 acre, and 1 acre. It is showing maximum building coverage under 40 acres, 5%, 5 acres, 10%, 1 acre is 20%. That seems pretty tiny of the area you can build on each of those acreage.
Oh, I see what you're,
It just seems really small.
in the staff report stuff? Or what? The zone considerations?
Right.
Yeah, these are just what is required in the zone, so we're not changing anything with those. You
I
just
realize
keep
that,
in
it
mind.
just seems pretty
So-
small, okay.
We've never had a problem in any past building permits or anything with people
Okay,
meeting those
all right,
standards.
just seemed tiny to me, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful, is that it? So,
Questions, but I think I want to wait until after public hearing.
I as well. So I would accept a motion to open public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we open a public hearing.
It's been motioned. And seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to approach the podium, give your name and where you live, and please note that you have a 1-minute time limit. So please feel free to approach the podium.
I know, we still do.
Oh, and you know what,
Yeah.
Trish, you can read that letter now.
Oh, you want me to read the letter first? Okay. So just so you guys are clear, if you want to come up and speak on the matter, just make sure you sign in and then make sure that this button is green so everybody can hear you on the recording. Okay? All right, so the first public comment, sorry, and I was jumping ahead earlier. So John and Charlotte Drabick at 2994 West Ridgeline Road. Dear Commissioners, we will not be able to attend the public meeting regarding the above proposed subdivision. This letter provides comments and concerns about the project based on the meeting notice that we received. The concerns are in the 5 areas. Density relative to nearby uses, light pollution, water access, septic impact, utilities, and traffic. Please note that we're not opposed to new development, including this proposed subdivision. A more tempered approach is called for, however. Density relative to nearby uses. The proposed subdivision is directly adjacent to South Rim, which has a similar number of houses, but on 1, 2, and 3 acre lots. The new subdivision is described as 1 acre lots. This is a large increase in density for this area and will double the impact on the only road through the area, Silver Avenue. It will be much more acceptable if the new subdivision had lots similar to South Rim. Let me keep going. Anyway, there are 5 areas of concern, and they just listed it out. So I think you guys have this, or I can send it to you, right? Okay. So I'll send it if you guys want to read more in depth into this stuff. But that was just their main concerns.
When did we get that?
It came later after the agenda.
Yeah, I came.
Yesterday, maybe.
Thank you.
Yeah, is that it? Okay.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
Thank you guys for allowing us to address you regarding this issue. My name's Yvonne Morris. I live at 3074 West Ridgeline in South Rim, which is directly adjacent to the property in question. Our concerns, along with the letter you just heard, are of water, road wear and tear, septic, sewer, light pollution. I think that there's a better way to zone this, and I too would love to see it zoned RR5 and up with green spaces. We're not opposed to progress, we're just opposed to that density. This morning, we watched a herd of elk traveling across the same property. It would be a shame to lose that, along with all of the protected raptors that nest out there. There's other things to consider, I think, than profit at this point, and the water issue is one of them. I would love to see a study done not only on the traffic delays, which is what this study seems to pinpoint, the wear and tear on the roads, the closures of Silver when the Pacific Union Railroad is closed. Where do we go?
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Lucas.
Lucas, I live at 3034 West Ridgeline. Big concern obviously is they put water restrictions on us in the middle of the summer because fear of not having enough water for fire suppression, yet somehow you have enough for another 250 homes. Seems completely contradictory to me. In watching the 8 years I've been out there in the construction and the growth, gravel trucks, cement trucks, trucks hauling trusses, lumber, the whole bit, they take more than their half of the lane. I ride a motorcycle and I've been forced to the far side of my lane by people who can't stay in that lane now. So although your amazing 142-page report, you give us a minute to talk to 142 pages of garble. Most of us are never going to understand that impact study. But I can tell you the stuff that goes on that road and the impact to that road going forward is far greater than manipulated data for an impact study on traffic. I can guarantee it. I watch traffic and accidents all the time. Out Silver, Mormon Trail, you need to do a whole lot better in your research and dates and stuff. Thank you.
You sign in?
Where's the police presence for 250 more homes?
So, as a point of order, I'll own my own mistake. So if you two, it'll be 2 minutes for your comment time. So if you'd like to take another minute, I apologize for that. I thought as well it was pretty short, so I'll own that.
Good evening. My name is Sean Morris. I'm the husband of Yvonne Morris, who was just up here a second ago. A couple also concerns that we do have is obviously the fire suppression system out there. It's a voluntary system, right now that we know of. They're building a new firehouse, and the lack of police presence that we have. There's no police up there other than the people that are getting pulled over up there are from highway patrol that live in the local area or brought in, for traffic, high speed and stuff of that nature. Also, just a concern that I have noticed is the mountain water that comes out of the canyons and rushes down Silver Avenue off of Mormon Trail. It's, completely dug a 12-foot trench down through that area, and it's definitely a flood zone. We have water that comes up over Ridgeline and mud, and then they're out there shoveling, to clear the drains and stuff of that nature. So being in a floodplain as well, these new developments also going to require to, maintain, flood insurance and stuff of that nature. And they've dug a ditch in the back as well, behind Ridgeline and the easement. And to prevent that, because when we do get a lot of rain up there, the little bit of 18-inch drainage pipes that we do have, they flood over and flood the roads out. So a lot of basements have been flooded up there. So just concerns that we have for flooding, fire suppression, and police presence. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. The other thing I was just gonna make, so there was I guess the development growth study from 2022 or something, mentions the Mormon Trail as a major road from the Salt Lake Valley up to Rush Valley and such. That is one of the worst roads in this county. To think that you're gonna put 250 more homes out there and have half the people go that direction to get down to I-80 or what have you, is absurd. That road is horrible. If you haven't driven it, by all means, take the opportunity and go drive it. I refuse to take my motorcycle down there because it's in that bad a shape. I know Michael Dow with the horses. I'm part of Bit and Spur and the whole bit. Watch horse trailers go down these roads and they just rock back and forth. They're garbage, and to add that kind of extra traffic's not gonna do them much service. So it's a big concern.
Rochelle, is there anybody online that would like to speak?
There's no hands at this time, Chairman.
Thank you.
Oh, there's one hand.
Jim Johnson on 3047 Rimrock. The one concern that I have that no one's talked about yet, but beyond everything everybody's talked about, is I think everybody in this room is aware of the lawsuit we have going on out there with the gravel pit. My only concern is nowhere on my closing documents on my house does it state that there is a commercial, quote unquote, commercial gravel pit across the street. And it's 50 yards away from me. So my concern or my thought would be, is the Hogan brothers gonna be prepared to put in disclosure comments to all these new possible owners that there's this huge gravel pit across the street? I doubt it seriously, because no one's gonna buy a new home out there. That's all I gotta say, so.
Can I ask you a question? I just want to know what the status of that current lawsuit was, but never mind.
Still in
We can
progress.
wait.
Still in progress.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Emily, you may speak now.
Before Ridgeline Road. My concerns mirror what everybody else has said. I'm concerned with the water issues, with the increased lighting that's out there for our birds that like to go in the area. I too also saw the elk that go out behind my house that I worry where they're going to go after that. The increased traffic that's brought to the area and the possibility of that gravel pit coming back out here. I also am not opposed to progress, but I do think that the lots should be done a little bit differently. Thank you.
That's the only hand on mine, Chairman.
Thank you. Is there anybody that?
I'm Charlie Chadwick. I live on 2455 Ridgeline. And I'd just like to say that my concerns are the traffic and mostly the curves. Everybody knows the curves because traffic is pretty tight going through there. And then the sewage problem, if there's a sewage problem for the smaller acreages, the state requirements on that versus a sewer plant or something like that. And then, the water issues and the traffic, even coming through Tooele all the way down is pretty bad. If there's gonna be a place for another road or improved roads. And also the post office, is that gonna be overrun with all the new things? So anyway, those are my concerns, and I'll be quiet now.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Lori Page. I live at 3014 Ridgeline. And I just wanted to say that I'm a little disheartened because when we started talking to people around us and in our neighborhood, it seemed that only those of us on Ridgeline received this notice about this development and whatnot, and the rest of our subdivision was never notified. And a lot of people were quite upset that they never heard any of this was taking place. And I was really upset because it affects all of South Rim and our whole subdivision, and it does affect the people of Stockton as well. And so we tried to get the word out to as many people as we could.
I just feel like that was a disservice to our whole subdivision that people weren't notified. It sounds like kind of a shady deal. And when things have been brought up about water restrictions, there was some snickering going on. Snicker as you want, but in our water bills, there has been days that we've been told to water and days not to in the summer. And so with that, we are concerned of what's gonna happen in the days to come. Again, not against progress, but we would ask that you would consider larger lots and not so many 1 acre lots. The light pollution, we love the dark skies. We left Tooele to be out in the country so that we didn't have to deal with all the light pollution, all the traffic, and that's why we left to move out to the country, and that's where we want to be. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to come forward?
My name is Becky McCormick. I live on 2976 West Ruiz Drive on South Rim. I missed the first few minutes of the applicant's report. Our concern, and I didn't have time to research, was where the aquifer is for our water system out there and what happens when you add 300 plus more septic systems on top of that and the integrity of our water system. I also have a concern as a parent with children in school that there are many, many times that the county road crews during snow removal are unable to get out to South Rim and to get the kids to school. So you put a whole nother subdivision out there that taxes the county during, the flooding, the snowing, everything like that, as far as safely getting our kids to school and the amount of population. I do love growth, and I know that it's gonna come, but I also would request larger lots. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Val Griffith, and I live at 3194 South Ridgeline Road. I guess my biggest concern is I've lived almost all of my life where there were septic systems. And it seems like to me, if you put 307 lots on 1 acre lots, you're gonna have trouble fitting leach fields, septic tanks. The way it is now with the R5, there's enough room for that to happen for the houses that are in there. So that for me is my biggest concern, because if it's gonna be septic, propane, those types of things, there kind of needs to be some space and enough space for a leach field out. We live on 2 acres. When we bought the house, we were not notified about the gravel pit. We were told it was all settled. So we're concerned that everything that gets done in that area is above board and open, so everybody knows about it. And I don't oppose having houses there. I love Ridgeline. It's a multitude of different people. I could see that going there, but not on the R1. It seems like it would be better at the R5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask questions for people who can't be here.
Anybody else?
Can we ask questions for neighbors who can't be here?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
They have to submit that, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
They could. could. They could go online and do it, yes.
Did they get a notice to submit it, or were they omitted from the mailing?
They were admitted.
Weird.
So actually, for public notice and public knowledge, I understand what you're saying about the notice, I get it. But the code is written to where houses that live within a certain amount of feet from the alleged, that's the wrong word, from the petitioned property are notified. Personally, I don't agree with it, but that's the way the law is. That's why only those people were notified and not all of South Rim or all of Stockton. So just to understand, nothing was shady, they followed the code, that's what happened.
Then that's state law, correct?
It's our law, yeah, so.
Is it, this follow state law, or is it stricter, or?
State law doesn't have it just says neighboring property.
Yeah, okay.
But state law requires us to put it online, post the agenda for 14 days, right? And we follow that.
Correct. Is there anybody else who'd like to come up during public hearing? If not, I'll accept a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
And it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we would love to hear from the applicants.
I'm happy to answer any questions that council members have, planning and zoning commission members have. I'm gonna attempt to provide some more information. I'm gonna attempt to provide some more information.
Will you state your name, please?
To try to answer some of the other questions that I've heard asked tonight. Okay, my name's Doug Hogan. I'm one of the applicants. Matt Hogan's here with me, he's the other applicant. Commissioner Elton asked a really good question at the start. Why are you asking for R1 versus what happened with the benches at South Rim subdivision? The answer to that question is the PUD portion of the code has been repealed. We can't apply for the exact same treatment that the benches at South Rim subdivision was developed under. It's not available. So there's a lot of talk about R5. There are no 5-acre lots in the benches at South Rim. It's R5 zoning with a PUD, and that section of the code, as I said, is no longer available. So to get lots that are similar in nature, there are a lot of 1-acre lots in the benches at South Rim. To make the subdivision similar, we've applied for R1. We believe that's what makes sense. That's why we've asked for that. It's as close as we can get under the current code to have something that's similar. We proposed houses next to houses. The water question is a good question to be asking. I'm glad that people are concerned about that. There are two issues to deal with when it comes to the water. One is source, and the other is storage. Okay. The concern that there have been limitations on when water could be used, that's a storage issue, okay? The current water system for the benches at South Rim has 2 sources, 2 wells, 1 water tank. If there's an issue that involves the tank, you're stuck and you may be in a situation where they've got to limit water use. What's proposed, and this is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, this would be more relevant at the subdivision stage, but I think it's useful information for everyone to have. We're not trying to hide anything, okay? So the proposal would be that there would be additional storage that would be built. This subdivision would have to carry their own weight. They would have to provide a storage tank. We're proposing that we would connect on to this water system that services the benches at South Rim. All of the infrastructure to make the connection, the additional water tank, would have to be paid for and provided by the new subdivision. The same water company that's delivering the water would deliver the water. That's who's going to provide culinary water service. There's a little serve letter that you see in your packet. If you've had a chance to look at that, you'll see that those conditions are spelled out entirely as to what needs to happen in order for the water to be delivered. So source, there's no problem with the source. That's the 2 wells. They're good sources. There's adequate water in the well. What needs to be enhanced and what would be a benefit, this is the benefit. People probably argue this and beg to differ, but the enhancement that the system would get is additional storage. When you have multiple tanks, there's a reason why areas like to have multiple tanks. If there's a problem, you can separate that piece off and people can still have water service. So that would be an enhancement to the water system. So again, There's a source and there's storage. And the proposal, the subdivision stage will have the details that you would need to be able to evaluate whether it's gonna be sufficient. And we're not proposing to circumvent any state requirements in terms of the amount of water that would be required. We're not proposing to circumvent any requirements that would be needed for leach fields, for septic systems. We intend to follow all the rules. With respect to the general plan, we believe that our proposal is consistent with the general plan, just as the staff has indicated. There was, I think, a good issue raised about the Hickman Wash. There is a drainage that crosses this particular piece of property. That would need to be accounted for. Ensign Engineering is the engineering firm that's doing the work on the project. They're well aware of that. It's been accounted for in their design and their engineering. And again, at the subdivision stage, those would be great questions, and all the details could be provided. I appreciate you mentioning with respect to the notice. I don't want anyone to think that there's anything shady that's happening. We've followed the rule. The rule requires that, in fact, we don't even prepare the list. When there's a subdivision or when there's a rezone application, you go to the recorder's office. The recorder's office generates the list of the notices, and they're provided directly to your staff who sends out the notices. So that's why it was done that way. Again, there's no attempt to only notify certain people or to keep it a secret. Those are the issues that I had flagged. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to address those in more detail. Well, I can tell you a little bit more about the water. The reason that that we're asking for the rezone now is the application that we'll make, and you may be familiar with some applications. You may have seen other properties that have come in here. In fact, the fire station is a good example. The fire station applied for the water right after they knew it was going to be a fire station. They knew what it was going to be. The reason that it's important for the state to know what it's going to be is they make a determination about how much water you can apply for and what can be received. They need to know what it's going to be. They don't need to know what the zoning is now. They need to know what's the intended zoning. What are you going to do with it? Because that determines how much water that they will consider granting on paper. Yes.
So question, if you don't mind. It says a minimum of 1 acre lots. So
Yes.
Is your plan proposed, I'm looking at the map, are those 307 acre lots, or are you gonna do a combination of 1, 2, 3 acres?
There were 225 lots proposed. That's what's been designed at this point. That, again, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but there would be open space. We need to account for roads. We need to account for, we're trying to account for connectivity with trails. We're trying to account for all the things to try to make it so that this subdivision marries up as well as possible with what's there.
They're all 1 acre lots, aren't they?
Excuse me?
They're all approximately 1 acre lots in your proposal?
Yes, yes.
What about
There's
open
some deviations that when you get stuff that's on a corner, as I've talked to the engineer, and again, it's Jake Clegg with Ensign that's been working on this project. I want to make sure I'm completely accurate in what I say. It's a 1 acre minimum. There are lots that are going to be larger than that, but not with the variation that you have in the benches at South Rim, where they range between 1 and 3.
What about open space and parks?
It's accounted for. There's open space in there. There's trails. There's not a plan to add an additional park. There's a lot of talk out there now in our neighborhood about whether the park should or should not do certain things, whether or not there are costs. And neighbors have legitimate concerns about cost to maintain things like that. But we do think there's utility in making sure that trails have connectivity so that you don't cut off access.
So I've got your proposed plat map. I don't see any open space in it at all.
There is open space as to where the roads, the drainage is accounted for. So in the 300 plus acres, there are only 224 lots, 225 lots. So
It's all roads, and what's the green?
I don't know exactly.
It's open space.
I don't know exactly
Trails?
what you're looking at, but again, at the subdivision stage, I'd be happy to discuss all of that in great detail.
So what's the possibility of adding 2 acre lots?
I guess we could talk about that. The other piece that obviously becomes very relevant in the subdivision stage is how are you gonna try to market it?
Sure.
What are you gonna try to do? How do you recoup the costs associated with building another storage tank and all the infrastructure? Can you do that economically with larger lots? Will you be able to sell them? We believe that we can do it as it's proposed, but again, that would be great subject for conversation at that next stage.
Sure.
At this point, we're simply asking for the rezone so that we can consider those other things, so that we can make application for the water, so that we'll know whether or not we need to go find additional water, whether we need to consider transferring water. Those are all things that are down the road, decisions that we know that we're gonna have to address.
What was the answer on septic?
On septic, there will be septic. If you go smaller than this, I believe you'd get into a situation where you'd have to consider doing a sewer system. And so we haven't proposed going smaller than that for that reason. I believe that we can comply with all the requirements. We've had discussions with the health department. They have not expressed concerns at this point about what we're proposing, and they've indicated they believe it would be appropriate. There would have to be perk tests, obviously. So there are additional steps that we're gonna have to comply with. But again, that's down the road stuff.
No, that's great.
I have a question. You
Yes.
mentioned Hickman Wash. Is any
Yes.
of this labeled floodplain, flood zone?
I don't believe that I can accurately speak to that issue. I know that Jake Clegg, the engineer that's working on the project, is familiar with those designations, and I know that they've accounted for the wash in their design, and they've got specific things that they've indicated are gonna have to be done, improvements that will have to be made.
That's great.
But I couldn't speak with detail on what exactly those improvements are.
So, just a couple clarifying things.
Yes.
You feel that the water sources, the two water sources, will be sufficient for this new development?
Yes.
And you want to add another one, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I need a point of clarification on the map. I saw two different, and granted, I know we're early, but I wanna make sure I understand which one I'm looking at is correct. You've got two maps, one with an internal road system that doesn't go anywhere outside of your subdivision to the north, to the west. But then you have one map that has a road going, open-endedly to the north. And
I'm trying to see where you're looking at so I can look at it at the same time.
trying to get the page. Is it page 75?
I did not print all the way.
That's
to
right.
page 75.
Can you show that?
I printed the staff report, but if,
And I'm actually asking for a reason, because there's land to your north.
does it show open to the north?
Oh, wait, no, this is,
On map. Good Atlanta.
Okay.
that was just the concept.
I'm scrolling.
If I can walk this up to you, Commissioner Hope, and show you this, you can
Sure.
confirm this is what you're looking at? Is it okay if I?
Yeah.
Is this the one you're looking at?
Correct, that's the other one, correct. So this road here, would that give access to the neighboring property to the
Yes.
north? Wonderful.
Yes.
Is that what you're proposing to do?
Yes, we wanted to make sure that this didn't end up in a situation where it's hard to know what's.
You're landlocking into
It's
it.
hard to know what's in the future.
Sure.
And we don't want to landlock it, we wanna make sure that there's access available.
Sure, I appreciate
And that
that.
we've accounted for.
No, thank you for that foresight, I appreciate that.
In addition, you'll have, fire department, emergency services that will need access.
Right. On that issue, obviously, every single new roof that gets built has an impact on emergency services anywhere in the county. And the county, I think, is struggling with how to address that issue. I think the county has proposed a new impact fee that would be on developments. Am I right about that, Rochelle? So I think the county's trying to grapple with that very issue.
Sure.
On how to account for that. I think those are all reasonable questions. That's a reasonable method to deal with that.
So that said, maybe at the risk of asking the obvious, I don't know, but I've been asked this question many times, so I'm gonna ask it. You're prepared to fund all of your own infrastructure and not pass that on as impact fees or tax increases to the benches of South Rim?
Let me answer that this way. I don't know that there's ever a lot that gets sold that doesn't account for some of that in the purchase price of the lot. That's the development cost of the lot.
No, that's the development though, that's an internal sale, great. I'm talking about passing that cost on to the benches of South Rim.
No.
Great.
No.
So that answers that question.
In fact, that would be inappropriate. the great example is the water system. I've had it, my across the street neighbor said, hey, if you guys go to do this, what's that gonna do to me and to my water bill? I explained that, well, if the storage capacity is enhanced, the system is improved for that reason. If we've got more users, in some terms you get economies of scale. It should be that there are more people having to bear the cost of that. If there are costs for, you also wear stuff out faster, right? If you have to pump more water out of 2 wells with more people, you're likely to wear the stuff out faster. But those will be factored in, and we're not gonna be asking existing residents to pay any of the development cost of this. They'll have to carry their own weight.
No, that's great. Thank you. That was,
Are there other questions that I can shed light on? I mean, again, we're at an early stage, and I imagine there'll be lots of other questions that get asked as we go forward.
I have just one further question. The traffic study appeared to be fairly narrow in its scope. It states the purpose of this traffic study is to analyze traffic operations at key intersections for existing 24 and future 2029 conditions with and without the proposed project, and to recommend mitigation measures as needed. Do you know why it didn't consider those S-curves and the state of Mormon Trail Road and all that?
I think that ends up being, I could be speaking out of turn, maybe Trish is able to answer this. I don't think that what's required, I don't think that that's part of what they would do
The
on any
access roads?
subdivision out there.
The
I don't think
access
they would,
roads?
I don't think they would analyze the S-curves. For instance, there are narrow roads that connect lots of large population centers of places. Every time you go up the canyons, you're on narrow roads. When you go to the ski resorts, hundreds of trips that happen a day are on very narrow roads.
Well, it's kind of interesting, they don't look at those, but they go over to Stockton and look at the intersection there, and that's all they did.
Again, I can't speak to why a traffic engineer does it the way they do it. I don't think I'm qualified. But as to the problem they did point out, for those that are not familiar, there's kind of a 5-way intersection. That's what they're talking about. At the service station in Stockton, you've got a 5-way intersection. And just like we've seen the county do over time, as there's been growth, roads that come in at a 45-degree angle, eventually they adjust them to make them come in at 90, so you've got line of sight.
Well, that begs the question, how is Tooele County and the developer going to require Stockton, who has no interest in the subdivision necessarily, to close a road?
Yeah, I don't think I have the ability to do that other than to ask. Right. And I don't think the county, I think the county has more of an ability to do it than I do.
I know, but if they just say, we don't care, and we got the problem.
Right. I guess if it bears out that in fact it is a problem, it would be on their radar as something they would want to address.
correct. And quite frankly, and professionally, don't hate me, but, you know, everyone's protected in their rights. You know, those logistics are managed otherwise, and they shouldn't be held against any developer, not only you, but anyone. I mean, they have the right to develop that property, and if the traffic study's been done, I would imagine they're professional enough to notice those kinds of things. But who knew that there'd be a light on 36 where Smith's is gonna be? I mean, people have bet thousands of dollars on that. So things happen. And I commend you for making this happen. Although, knowing the previous owners of your property, I'm glad they're still alive, because last time I heard it wouldn't be developed until they were dead. So I'm glad they're alive, just saying.
I'm also glad they're alive.
But, I mean, if I was to speak to the 1 acre lots, obviously I'm a 2 acre, 3 acre guy, but with the way the economy is going, and I have a lot of kids, and a lot of grandkids, you know, maybe this makes affordable places for some people and still being a rural area. Again, hate me if you want, but at least there's gonna be options.
I've had people tell me that they think it should go much smaller. I've got concerns about that, because I think there should be something that looks like a logical transition and connectivity to what's there. And so I've got concerns about going smaller than that, and also that would raise questions about, I think you'd get into issues that deal with septic tanks versus sewer systems. And so we've attempted to strike the balance that we believe makes sense. Understanding that not everybody's gonna like it. Okay, right. Any other questions that I can address?
Is there any other questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any concerns or questions among the commission?
Question for staff. It states in paragraph G that because the subject property abuts the western edge of benches at South Rim, there's an opportunity for efficient and economical use of existing infrastructure that can be expanded, specifically the roads. And I didn't see anything in your recommendations that talked about expanding the roads. Infrastructure that can be expanded, specifically the roads.
Yeah, all of that stuff is gonna be, through subdivision phases when we have the engineers and roads departments and everybody involved
But
and
this is
all their-
talking about a budding property.
Yeah. So in his, in G, what are you talking about?
That's G.
In his application, in
No, I
his
think it
addressment?
says the staff summary paragraph, I've got G, maybe that's wrong, but because the subject property abuts the western edge of the benches at South Rim, there's an opportunity for efficient and economical use of existing infrastructure that can be expanded, specifically the roads.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, that's not
That's
in
in
the
your report
staff
somewhere.
report. If it's, yeah, in the
Is that the
applicant
applicant's?
stuff, okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I was way confused with where you're
It's
at,
on
so.
page 16 of the application.
All right. I thought it was in your report.
Yeah, so the applicant is just addressing that, requirement of the county, so he's just addressing what that, would be in the application. So the application is, it's just the relationship of the proposed zone change with the Tooele County General Plan and how it specifically, the proposed change would conflict, conform, complement, or otherwise affect the general plan, as well as the special studies that are designed to further detail the general plan in the specific area. So he's just,
All right, thank you, I'm sorry
yeah,
about that.
drawing out the
So
general plan.
here's again my question. If we wanted to recommend a development consistent with the adjoining subdivision, what would need to be done? Did you say a conservation? Did you say?
Yeah, there's a conservation subdivision, where they can cluster the lots and create more open spaces. That would require a water and sewer system.
And that's specific to the conservation subdivision?
Yes.
The sewer system, okay.
Yes.
Any other options?
Planned community.
Oh, the PC zone and that has the same requirements, but that would also include commercial, high density residential, more of a mixed of everything. It's a planned community. So those are things that they're going to.
Would that require?
You would get like townhouses up to 5-acre lots in a
Yeah,
planned community.
townhome, yeah, they can do multiple residential,
Would that require a
commercial.
sewer system?
Yes,
So there's no option to mirror the adjoining subdivision except for a sewer system?
correct.
When was the PUD zone
Repealed,
repealed?
2019?
2019?
Mm-hmm.
Was there a reason for that? Was it too hard to manage or what?
I think a lot of it was just the infrastructure. We've had a lot of failing infrastructure stuff happening, with not having systems put in place. So if they have the small acreages, the health department requires anything smaller than an acre, they have to be on a system.
What would happen if we amended those districts to provide septic systems if the county health department approved it?
It would be a state code for the health department. The state requires that, health
what?
department code for the septic systems
No, I
on
meant,
acres.
what if we changed the conservation, or what was the other PC, to delete the requirement that they have an area, subdivision wastewater system and
That,
allow?
We get rid of the sewer system requirement.
Yes. Because it sounds like they could comply with, even the 1 acre lots can comply with state law.
I'd have to dig a lot more into the conservation subdivisions, just to make sure, but it could be. Yeah,
Could you state that again, please?
It would be an easier option, Commissioner, to institute a new PUD ordinance than it would be to amend the PC code because of the multifamily commercial various requirements in the PC code.
Well, but also too, be careful what you ask for, because if you go down that road, not saying they would, but that gives them freedom to high density develop.
I still think you can,
So I mean, let's be careful.
yeah, I think you have the ability to do it any way you want. You could regulate it any way you wanted in the ordinance.
I was also just trying to find it in the general plan, and because I'm doing a whole bunch of things, but I haven't found the page exactly, but it does call out in the general plan what water usage would be for 1 acres or larger. Those larger properties require a lot more water, and it calls that specific amount out in the general plan. I just can't pinpoint the pages right now. So just keep in mind all of that stuff and
Well,
everything that's
you
put
don't
in
want to
there.
irrigate the entire 5 acres or 3 acres, do you?
And then it becomes a big fire hazard, because
Well, can't you require
those
them?
5 acres are not gonna be,
I've got 5 acres in the back of my
properly
place and
watered.
they mow it all the time.
Any further questions, concerns?
I don't know if I have any, well, I do have a question for staff, but also just on the disclosures. I'm 100% would be for disclosure laws, but Utah is not a disclosure law, so when you buy your property, the real estate agent is not, or whoever you're buying your property from, no one's required to disclose anything, so.
There's only 2 things you can disclose.
Well,
this one,
I
this
mean,
one
I'm
might be
100%
tricky,
for
yeah.
disclosure laws. I think they should have them. I actually worked with a committee trying to get those passed 2 years ago, and it was a huge no. So,
the other thing is, looking at the general plan, this is mixed use 40, so, I mean, this
Right.
is right in the gravel pit that they're talking about. I'm new to that part, I live on the other side of the valley, but that's right in line with what it's zoned for.
Right, and well, along those lines too, there comes a point in time of due diligence. So if one was to look at the area before moving there, right, you would know that to the west, there's a huge power pole system that everyone fought for that now they forgot about. There's BLM ground to the west, there's a pig farm to the south, there's a tainted lake to the southeast. There's another three rock quarries to the east. Hogan's raise cattle and they calve to the south, and there's mountains to the north. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but due diligence goes a long, long ways when you want to spend $500,000, $1 million on a home, and quite frankly, you should do your homework and find out there. I mean, not to bring up the pit thing, but it's been there a while, whether I like it or not, but it's been there, and so all those things happen, and we should know that they're there. That's just for public knowledge, not just.
and then just to reiterate, though, like the drawings and the concept maps, those are concepts, those are not what's actually gonna happen. All we're doing here is approving a rezone. We've approved rezones without traffic studies, without concept maps, with far less information. So I guess for staff, if we do approve the rezone, what are the next steps for this development?
It has to go to council, so council will vote on it. They'll take your recommendation into consideration. If they vote to approve that, the applicant can submit for a subdivision application at that time. And that's where we really start digging into the road requirements, the water requirements, things like that, making sure that all the properties are 1 acre or larger, things like that in the subdivision code. That's where you really start digging into all the finer details.
And I know we've made some changes. Is the subdivision requirement, does that come back through planning commission
Yes.
for approval?
Yes, the major subdivisions do. You see them at the preliminary stages.
Just to I don't know the answer, so I'm curious. And maybe it's a stupid question, but there has been a lot of concern about the S-curves and the big trucks. I mean, we already have big trucks coming on there, but when you add a large development like that, that high traffic truck, traffic will be much more. So is there a way, and maybe, again, stupid question, to have them approach from the west instead of the east, or is that even something we can consider?
Like,
So cause all that traffic, construction traffic can come in from morning traffic.
oh, just the construction
Yeah,
traffic.
yeah.
I don't know if we could, I don't know what that road is. Do you know what the Silver Avenue
Chairman,
is?
as a part of, as a condition of the rezone, you could request that the applicant have a traffic study done on that area.
But they did, right?
It
Specific
doesn't-
to-
Yeah, it doesn't take into account.
Specific to
the-
Silver Avenue
If you're
and
concerned
its
about that.
Oh, gotcha. I was just curious,
current standards, I guess.
cause that would help, so, either way.
You ready for motions?
I would be willing to accept a motion.
Aye.
I can give you one more piece of historical information if you want it.
Would you please approach,
As to the S-curves.
would you please approach the podium? Thank you.
As to the S-curves, and this may go clear back to when Commissioner Elton was the county attorney at the time. There's been more than one offer made by third parties. Barrick Merker Gold Mine, when they were up and going, offered to fix the S-curves, to take them out all the way. At that point in time, the county rejected the offer. And this was their rationale, whether you agree with it or not. The rationale was the county liked the curve because it slowed people down. And their concern was if they straightened that out, that people would go way too fast. And so they improved the curve, they did some blasting, and they made the road better. It used to be much narrower than it is now. And so the last improvement that happened was only stopped because the county said, we don't want it straight.
Right.
We want it to remain because it slows people down.
That makes sense.
And so
No, thank you, that was good. I appreciate that. So, a motion.
I move that we recommend it to the county council a denial of this request for rezoning based upon all the concerns raised. This is a rezone application 2024-109, but that we recommend a rezone to RR5, which is consistent with the reso designation in the general plan. That's only if the applicant consents. As a side note, I would ask that we consider a PUD to allow for a subdivision adjacent to the existing subdivision that would be consistent. But my motion is to recommend denial of this and recommend RR5 if the applicant consents.
So it's been motioned to decline this, recommended rezone. Is there a second? So the motion fails for lack of a second. Is there another, thank you, is there another motion?
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, rezone parcel MU 40 mixed use 40 acre. RR1 rural residential 1 acre minimum. See, is that all I need on here? Or should I be reading this other part down here? Resident.
So, well, clarify what you want to do. Are you recommending?
Yeah, I was looking at this. So for parcels 0618 01016 for MU 40, I would like to make a motion that we approve this.
For recommendation?
Yeah, recommendation that we approve this, yes.
So it's been recommended, all right, the motion is that you move to recommend the rezone for REZ 2024-109.
Right.
It's been seconded, so it's moved and seconded, and we will do, any further discussion? So we'll have a roll call vote. Commissioner Dow.
Aye.
Commissioner Bartholomew,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott,
First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. We never get people. I'm taking
no, you can't.
I'm taking Jeff's place. Jeff McNeil. Yes. No, it's not. I have to give my reasons why I'm going to vote the way I am.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. We never have communities participate in this part of it. We hear your voice. We understand, especially those of us that have been here forever. I heard your concerns, the septic tanks. That is an issue for the health department. I can't tell you that I've always lived on a 1 acre lot, always had a septic system. I know that the health department has put even greater regulations and controls on that. So I think that will be taken care of if this goes through. I think also that some issues that were brought up tonight are, we need to divide out, is it the developer's responsibility? Is it the county's responsibility? Or is it the federal government's responsibility? Being law enforcement and fire suppression, that's a county issue. The roads, that's a county issue. Mormon Trail, that's a county issue. That's not a subdivision or a developer issue. And as far as the post office, that's a federal issue. I think we cannot consider any of those things in our decision. And we also cannot penalize a property owner for wanting to benefit from property they own. Honestly, that's against the law. I think, isn't that right, Commissioner Allen?
No, we don't have to approve the recommendation, we could do our R5.
You're right,
Point of
but
order,
we
point of
cannot,
order.
okay.
Let's move on. There's a
All right. We can't hold it against them and deny them their freedom. Having stated all this, I vote aye.
Commissioner Stetz,
Aye.
Commissioner Beckstrom,
I would like to take this, I'm not on. I'd like to take this moment to say ditto to everything Commissioner Scott said. I concur 100% with everything she said. I vote yes.
Commissioner Elton,
Nay.
and your reason?
I believe that this subdivision that's proposed should be consistent with the adjoining subdivision. I think the county should be able to accommodate that by doing a new PUD. I don't think that the RR5 would be consistent with that, but that's the only thing we have left. We've got a lot of concerns. We do have the ability to mitigate impacts to the community. The roads, in my opinion, are completely inadequate. I've gone over those S curves probably once or twice a week, and people coming across into my lane is a common occurrence. I've talked to people who go down Mormon Trail Road, and they state that that is not well maintained, is constantly in a state of disrepair, and probably because of a large number of gravel trucks on it. We do have the ability to regulate impacts, and my opinion is the only way we can do that is to make the subdivision consistent with the adjoining property, adjoining subdivision. Thank you.
And thank you. And just before I issue my vote, I want to reiterate that there's county issues and there's developer issues. And we can't hold either one at bay because the other one's not going to do it. But I'm going to bet on the fact that the county is going to step up and do what they're supposed to do when developments come into this sort. You laugh what you want, but we've seen it. So you know what? Let me remind you, when the South Rim of Benches was developed, yes, all these concerns are the same, but yet you love where you live. Just remember that. But I'm going to vote yes to this rezone. So the motion stands.
Carries.
Carries. Thank you.
And let me just say, while you're all here, I have been in your spot. I have been one that didn't get the notice. I have lived here. I had elk that all my life, 250 head of cows and calves, wintered across my road my whole life, and now we don't see them at all. So that's why I'm sitting here. So if you want a say in what's going on, Commissioner or Councilman Thomas is right there, and we're looking for bodies.
So the next order on our agenda is number 5, and it's the land use ordinances, text amendment. Trish?
I just wanna point out that everybody that's here just for the rezone, you're welcome to leave. These are just text amendments, but you're welcome to stay. You don't have to stay for the entire meeting for other things if you don't feel the need to. It might be a while.
Hey, thanks a lot, Trish. You've been staying.
Yeah, go. Hey, get out. Get out while you can.
All God disperses.
But the problem is, I corrected him. You got it.
It's a use.
Commissioners, do you wanna take like, commissioners? Blair, do you wanna take like a 5-minute break?
Rochelle, Mrs. DeClue would like a 5-minute.
I move that we take a 5-minute.
5-minute break. Claire? It's done.
Aye.
Well, and the most well attended.
Floor and other floors.
We have a request for a 5-minute break.
Teams.
Blair, do you know how bad that is for you?
It's way bad, and I'm gonna die soon. I should be dead already 3 times, so I'm okay.
Did you have supper tonight?
Earlier.
Earlier.
We're live.
So,
Yes, I'm ready
Trish,
to go home, let's go.
are we live?
Yes.
Please, continue.
Okay,
Oh,
you
you're
guys,
back in session.
yeah, do you have to like vote it back in? I don't know. Okay.
The chair
All in
governs
favor, sir.
procedure unless outvoted,
You're outvoted, what'd you say?
unless you're outvoted.
Oh, sure. Please continue.
Okay, Trish DeClo presenting TCLUO 2024-114. So this is a text amendment to the land use code. 114 is the next one, right? They go in consecutive order. I don't have the agenda in front of me, sorry. So this is just a land use ordinance update to chapter 2, which is definitions. Table 15-5-3.2, which is a rural residential multi-use district, ag zones. And then to table 16-4-3.4, and that's to our regular residential areas. Can you close that?
Oh, then boot him down the hallway
You
then.
can't close it? I told them to go down. Anyway,
The back door's open.
An open meeting does not mean the doors have to be open. If somebody comes, we'll open the door for them. I will open the door for them.
The back door's open.
okay, so this is, staff has run into a lot of problems with home occupations, in these zones, and our current code contradicts itself, with, I think it was table 16, and then, I don't know if you remember, this might be a little bit too much history, but an applicant had come in and requested the change to table 16, and so we, as commission and staff, didn't adjust it in table 15 as well. We just went with whatever the applicant was requesting at the time. So to be more consistent and not have our codes conflict with each other, this is what we have proposed for staff that has to deal with these day in and day out, and the issues that we've had come forth, and the neighbor concerns and all of that stuff. So what staff is recommending is that the cottage industry definition, just add wording that says greater than a home occupation, because it's not really clear what defines a cottage industry to a home occupation or a home-based business. It's just, so the cottage industry is specific to things people are making, like art decor or things, yeah, Tony?
It doesn't the Utah Department of Ag, who oversees cottage, don't they have a definition?
They don't.
Oh.
They don't have, they have, what is the definition? It's not specific to the cottage industry thing, that's just something the county has. What they have are like small kitchen things, like
thank you.
foods and baking and things like that. They don't
So
have
in layman terms, this is allowing people to do more in their home.
Yes and no. yes, because we are being more lenient on one side, and no, because right now it's permitting them to have an X number of people come to their home, and we've had people that have had hundreds of people come to their house for things. And so we just want to make sure that it's going to be clear, more clear on when staff is processing things, and more parameters so that we can understand how to process it and what it would fall under. So right now we have like 4 different home occupation possibilities. One is an ag industry, and so that's going to be strictly like farm stands, hay, egg, poultry, stuff like that. And really the state regulates most of that anyway. We allow those in our zones with a CUP currently, and that's fine. It's been working just fine. The issues we've been having are between the cottage industry, the home occupation, and the home-based business. So as of right now, the cottage industry definition just says, what does it say currently? Hold on, let me get there. Cottage industry means a business conducted entirely within a dwelling or in an accessory structure without altering the residential character, manufacturing artistic, handicraft, and other craft items and services rendered on the premise. And then the home occupation, we updated it kind of recently with the applicant that had come in. I think maybe it's been a year and a half now, but I don't have the definition right in front of me, but no, there's a whole separate thing for daycares and preschools. This is just for like a wide range of other things that people can do in their home. I mean, and it ranges a lot. So this is what's going to help staff to determine what's going to be allowed in what zone, what we think is going to be impact to the neighbors just because of all the neighborhood input that we've had, things like that, all the complaints that we've received, like, hey, so-and-so has this many people, well, what would you consider to be okay? What, and so most of the range of people that we have talked to consider anything over 5 customers a day to be a little bit more of an impact. So that would require a CUP process. So that would require us to notice the neighbors. It would get reviewed by staff. And then anything that's larger, like a home-based business, which is a small commercial manufacturing type business things, those are allowed in larger lots. And so those are conditional use required to come before you.
So you're saying more than five visitors a day would be what you don't want?
Which it would just be an impact to the neighborhood.
Right.
So that would just it would trigger a CUP process. Anything less than that is just permitted, and there's not anything really that we have to notice the neighbors about or review much of anything, right? So we can just sign those off real quick, make sure that they're in their parameters of whatever they're doing, right? That's loud. And then they can just go straight up and get their business license. And so if you look at the recommendations in the tables, and these changes should be on both tables so that they're consistent. So a home occupation is with the following conditions. So no customers coming to the home, and deliveries are made to the customers only. So if they're making things or things at home that they want to sell out, if they're going out and delivering those, they're not coming to the house, it's not an impact. Those are permitted. So that we can just look at those, sign those off, like give them a day or two to turn around really quick. And then the home occupations with the following conditions: that they allow up to 5 customers a day, given sufficient off-street parking is provided. And that could be like 1 at a time, or it could be up to 5 at a time, like if they have piano classes or something of that nature, or something that they want to do like a craft night and they can have 5 customers at a time or something. So it could be, like I said, just 1 to 5 customers at a time. And then number 2 is no more than 2 employees hired that reside outside of the dwelling, provided off-street parking is provided. So that's people that you're hiring outside of the house. Like if you have your kids working for you, or your husband or whatever, they're living in the house, it's not impact, they live there, right? So there shouldn't be more traffic or anything that they're creating. It's the people that they're hiring outside the house. And then number 3 is that classes or education may be provided in structures or outside on the premise, provided it does not cause a nuisance to the surrounding neighbors. So that's just something we added similar before, that they could use their premise, because at the time, nothing was allowed outside the home. So if they want to have like craft night outside, or if they want to have swimming lessons or something like that, that's why it was a swimming lesson. So.
Okay, that's why.
Right.
That's why
Yeah, so, 16 was only updated, and like just the home occupation definition was updated last time. So 15 was not, so they're not the same. And then 16, if you look at it now, it contradicts itself. So it says like no customers coming into the home, and then right below that it says may allow customers coming into the home. So we're like, okay, we gotta get this fixed. So these are what staff is recommending. Yeah, housekeeping. This is what we're recommending as staff, because we process these every day, this is things that we've dealt with, we've asked people's input on, and stuff like that, so, and I think, yeah, so just the update to the cottage industry, just to clarify things, the update to the definition, chapter 2, cottage industry, is just adding, so it'll say, means a business greater than a home occupation, and then continue with the rest of it, conducted entirely or in an accessory dwelling. So just to clarify that it's just a little bit larger, could have a little bit more impact than a regular home occupation could. And then, yeah, just the changes that I already went over is that there's 2 different home occupations. It could trigger one permitted, one as a conditional use reviewed by staff. Those are the ones that we feel would allow people to still have their businesses in their home and still letting the neighbors enjoy their property at the same time. And then the other side that we do have, and it's been okay for now, is that the home-based businesses are larger than that. So if you look at the back page of this table, it addresses those. So we would like to change, so currently the cottage industry may be permitted to employ up to 10 employees that reside outside of the dwelling, provided the off-street parking is available. And so we just wanted to clarify a little bit more in this section that because it is a larger impact than just a normal home occupation, we wanted to say that it may allow more than 5 customers a day at one time too. We request that because of the impact and the traffic, and this should be allowed in larger properties, that we take it out of the RR1 and the RR5 zone, because it does, like I said, the regular home occupation is covered in that zone. We just wanted it to be more consistent with like the home-based businesses, which currently does not allow them in those zones, RR1 or RR5. The home-based is not allowed there. And really it was the same thing. If you look at those tables, the cottage industry may be allowed to employ up to 10 employees that reside outside, provided off-street parking is available. It was the same thing. It was just that the cottage industry has a different definition than a home-based business for like the use that they're having for whatever reason. I would be okay just getting rid of the cottage industry altogether and just make it home occupation and a home-based business. But so anyway, so that was our recommendations, and just to help us have more parameters on how to process these, because we've in the past, when we've looked at things, they've allowed things like event businesses to happen in a residential zone because the code isn't really clear on how many employees and people and how often and stuff like that. So we didn't want to continue to have those things happening.
So I do have a question.
Yes.
Have there, with these changes, have there been requests that have been denied because we haven't updated this information?
Yeah, I would say so. They're really, really hard, as Steph can attest to. She does a lot of them every day. They're like, it's just not clear enough to the staff, like what could be allowed or not. And some have been denied in the past and some have been approved. And so it's just very inconsistent.
So it's a good chance you'll get more approvals now.
I would think so, and I think it's just a lot clearer to the applicants applying for things, and it's clear to staff that we can explain that to the applicants as well. Like, here's your parameters, like that, or if that triggers a different section of it, and you just have to either get a CUP or.
How will this affect existing?
What was that?
How will this affect existing businesses?
They'll be grandfathered in, right?
Okay.
Yeah. It wouldn't change them.
So how come, though, we're taking out RR1 and 5 for the cottage industry?
Okay, so there's quite a few reasons. number one is, even though they're maybe zoned RR1, they're a quarter-acre lot or smaller, right? And we have a lot of those in the county, and those have caused us a lot of heartache on how to regulate these, and the neighbors and everything, like their property is just not large enough to handle something at this extreme, I guess, yeah. So that's why we just clarified that a little bit, and we updated the table, the home occupation, that's like, hey, you can still have a business, you just can't have more than 5 people without being a nuisance to your neighborhood.
Great. That's a lot for a quarter acre. Any further questions? I move that we open public hearing. Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody online who would like to speak to this? Michelle?
We have one person online, Chairman, but no hands.
Wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close public hearing.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm willing to not open it to receive a motion.
I move that we recommend the proposal 2024-114 amendments to the county council for approval.
Second that motion.
So it's been motioned for approval by Commissioner Elton and seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Do we need a roll call vote on this?
Only
If there's a nay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Great. The next, how this, it kind of got thrown in there, but item B is the amendment to the Tooele County Planning Commission's policies and procedures.
Yeah, so I apologize if there's been some confusion with the attachments, because I did not have the original one. Janet did, and she's retired, so I don't know where to get this.
I move that we look at, who was it, Camille's proposal, and go through it paragraph by paragraph and act on it individually, each paragraph with yea or nay on each paragraph. We'll use that as the basis of our discussion.
Do you want to table the request and then adjust it?
I wanna use her proposal,
Okay.
go through it section by section and say yea or nay.
So point of order, that's allowed, because, I mean, just so I clarify, it's not an agenda item.
Well, it is the agenda item.
Yeah.
It is, so these are her recommended changes to what we provided.
Right, I just had it proposed formally, not just in her email. That's why I was asking. So, okay. So it's been motioned that we go over Commissioner Knutsen's input, paragraph by paragraph, as discussion topics to guide our discussion. Is there a second? There is a second. So it's been motioned by Commissioner Elton, seconded by Commissioner Stetz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
She did a lot of great work on this. Let me just start with that.
She did.
For her to quit, this was well thought out.
A lot of work. So who's gonna start?
I move that we approve the first paragraph, which indicates the purposes of the planning commission, but add to it, and is the land use authority for Tooele County.
Second that.
You getting all this stuff?
I'm gonna try and write it down too. Where's,
First paragraph, we approve that, which is the purpose of the planning commission, but to add the planning commission and is the land use authority for Tooele County.
And I second that.
So it's been motioned by Commissioner Elton, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously.
I move we approve paragraphs numbered 1 and 2 as indicated.
It's been motion to approve by Commissioner Elton. Second by Commissioner Dow. Any further questions? Or discussion rather? All those in favor say aye.
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 It passes unanimously. Make sure you enunciate the aye, so I'm watching you all, so I don't have to get any abstains or otherwise. Next paragraph.
I move that we approve, let's see, let me look at my notes here. So we've got a 3.1, I guess. I move we approve recommended section 3.1 changes.
Second.
It's Been motioned by Commissioner Elton to approve, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Okay, so I guess there's an issue, gonna be an issue with, numbering, but the next paragraph that was proposed to be deleted is election of officers. It was number 3 in the old one. And, let's see. County, the proposal down below, let's see. Somewhere in here, it doesn't say that the vice chair will be elected also in January. Let's see. Oh, here, so that section says the planning commission at its first regular meeting in January of each year shall elect a chairperson, vice chairperson. That's proposed to be deleted.
I don't think we can delete that.
Pardon?
My recommendation would be to leave it in.
Me too.
Okay, let's see. But it states the county shall appoint a person who shall choose a secretary. I'd change that to the development department shall appoint a person who serve as secretary.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we leave in section 3, the election of officers, and change it from staff to the development office.
Shall appoint a secretary.
Yes.
So it's been motioned to approve.
No,
I mean,
to
sorry.
leave that in.
Sorry, it's been motioned to not omit, not delete that section by Commissioner Scott.
So we may have to have the staff redo the numbering on these.
Okay, noted. Is the motion seconded?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Dow. Any further discussion?
Do you want it to say community development department, just to be more consistent
Yeah,
with
whatever.
everything?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And it passes unanimously. Excuse me. Commissioner
Mr.
Scott.
Dow.
Commissioner Dow, sorry. I'm doing my best to state it.
So I'd move that we approve section 3.2, the first paragraph of that, but not make those changes unless somebody can tell me why those were proposed. They're deleting call special meetings of planning commission in accordance with these procedures. That might be duplicated with the Utah law, but it might be one person have an intent.
Would the chairman and vice chairman call those meetings, or is that?
Well, the chairperson does. It says, the chairperson shall preside at meetings and call special meetings in accordance with these procedures.
3.2.
So I don't know why that was proposed to be deleted.
I think just from like my standpoint, when the state changes a whole bunch of things, it's harder for us to come back and change all of ours. If it just says like in accordance to state code or something.
Accordance with state law, I guess.
Yeah, it's just easier to keep it in there. So whenever they change anything, we're still consistent with whatever the state is saying.
Well, the state code's mentioned before, so. I move we accept 3.2 as originally stated without the deletion.
Second.
So it's been motioned to accept as written.
First paragraph of 3.2 as indicated or without the
It's
deletion.
been seconded by Commissioner Scott. It's been motioned by Commissioner Elton, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you.
The second paragraph of 3.2 is proposed to be deleted. And it states if the chairperson and vice chairperson are absent from a meeting, the planning commission, the quorum present may select from its members an acting chairperson by majority vote. It's proposed that the county would appoint somebody to facilitate the meeting, and I don't think it's the staff's prerogative to appoint a chairperson in the absence of the vice chair or chair. So I move that we approve the second paragraph of 3.2 as lined through here, and we not accept the next sentence there that the county would appoint.
So just point of clarification, Commissioner Elton, if the county does not appoint a chairman. If the chairman and vice chairman aren't here, who will appoint the
The
chairman?
board president may select from its members an acting chairperson by majority vote.
Oh, okay, thank you. So it's been recommended for approval with those admissions and additions by Commissioner Elton. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Well, there's the last sentence here about the secretary shall ensure the minutes, et cetera. Does anybody know why that would want to be deleted? The secretary shall keep the minutes, subcommittees, ensure that they're in accordance with law, be the custodian of the planning commission records in general, perform all duties and something else, secretary. I don't know. I guess it doesn't need to be in there, but why not have it in there? Secretary shall ensure the minutes of the proceedings are kept, custodian.
Oh, it's not numbered.
Is that another paragraph?
The last sentence in the last subsection of 3.2. The secretary shall ensure that the minutes of the proceedings of the planning commission and subcommittees of the planning commission are kept, ensure that the notices are given.
Is that mentioned somewhere else that it's?
No,
My guess is because it's a state, so she's just.
well, I don't think there's any state requirement for the staff to do that.
Open meetings law is just
That's.
somebody has to do it, basically.
Yeah, they just have to keep minutes
But it
recorded.
doesn't specify who.
So we've got here before that the planning department picks the secretary, and we're talking, I guess we could say the planning department shall ensure.
Should we call out the community development department? To make it consistent. Should we say,
Instead of the
planning
secretary?
commission and the community development department shall appoint secretary?
We've got them already appointed previously up here somewhere. So I guess
Appoint the secretary with the community development.
Yeah,
Now, this is just saying what the secretary does.
I think it needs left in.
well, I think it's okay. Okay, I move that we leave in that last sentences of section 3.2, starting with the secretary shall ensure and signed by her chairperson or the planning commission at the end there.
I second that.
So it's been moved that we do not accept the recommended deletions by Commissioner Elton, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Scott
With the corrections to spelling.
with the
Ensure instead of ensure, right?
corrections of the spelling. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 And it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, 3.3, rules of procedure. Somebody's proposing to delete the planning commission shall govern its proceedings consistent with the provisions of Utah law relating to counties. That might be okay to delete, but the next section is the one I have concern with. It's proposed that we shall follow basic parliamentary procedures as outlined in Robert's Rules of Order. I studied Robert's Rules of Order, and I don't think anybody gets those right. The current provision says the planning commission, the chairperson of the planning commission shall rule on all matters of procedure with fundamental fairness and a reasonable opportunity to be heard as the controlling rationale. The chairperson, however, may be reversed on matters of procedure by a majority vote of the planning commission members present entitled to vote. So the last part is, any formal action shall be initiated by motion, the second part of the vote of membership. So that's in my opinion, that's a good procedure. The chair is in charge of the procedure. The chairs usually get it right. If they don't get it right, we can overrule them by a majority vote of the quorum present. Parliamentary procedures, in my opinion, should not be in there. If we screw up on the parliamentary procedures, so we can challenge our decisions. So I move that we do not amend that section 3.3, the first paragraph. Maybe we can delete that first sentence, which is probably duplicated. So delete the first sentence, leave the second paragraph in.
So it's been motioned to approve with the acceptance of deleting the first sentence and accepting the remainder by Commissioner Elton and seconded by Commissioner Dow. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Elton?
So,
Commissioner Elton, did you say aye?
yeah.
Thank you. It passes unanimously. So I'm watching everybody, so, okay, continue please.
So let's see, the last sentence, I don't know if that's new or not, it's new at the chairperson's discretion. If the vote of all members is unanimous, the chairperson shall note in the minutes and shall reflect that all voted in favor of the motion. Then they've got added, if the vote is not unanimous, voting shall be by verbal vote. I thought we already had that.
I thought that was part that was at the chairperson's discretion.
Say that again, please.
The only part that's new is at the chairperson's discretion. She added that, what I recall.
Oh, the first, but the rest of that underline is not new, I didn't think.
Correct.
Okay, so I move that we accept that last paragraph of 3.3 as proposed with the underlying portions.
So as it stands, so it's been moved to approve as it stands by Commissioner Elton.
Second.
And it's been seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Elton?
All right, the next one.
Aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
That's what you're talking to. Okay, application deadline, that was deleted. I don't know exactly why we would want that in there, but it looks like it gave some guidelines for applicants. Maybe somebody could talk to us about that.
There's guidelines in the code.
Yeah, state code, and it's, yeah, it's in multiple places, and it's kind of strenuous, like
Well, it's kind of an interesting.
at 12 noon and 3 weeks.
All right, I move that we delete the first paragraph, well, section 6 application deadline.
I second that.
The whole section?
The whole sentence.
Delete section 6 as
Okay.
the old one.
Really?
So it's been motioned
Whole
that we
paragraph,
delete
huh?
section 6 by Commissioner Elton.
Apparently it's redundant or not consistent.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Been seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Section 3.3, this is a new provision. The Community Development Department shall create the monthly agenda. In my opinion, and I don't know where it was before, the chairperson, somewhere it stated that the chairperson shall consult. I think the planning commission should have the ability to add agenda items. I think the chairperson should, or maybe another procedure for members of the planning commission. So if I went to the planning, or the development department and said, I'd like to put on the agenda changing the policies and procedures, they could say no.
So, can we do that without public notice?
Well, I'm saying just place it on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Like the night of, you mean?
No,
No, well, we can already do that.
This says the community development department shall create the monthly agenda.
Don't you already do that?
Yeah, but that means you can't, does that mean you can't call and ask for something?
As I shouldn't be able to, because this is published beforehand, so many.
No, we're talking about a timely placing
Yeah.
on the agenda.
Oh, but that's all right, okay.
I thought there was some.
Yeah,
Well,
that's,
yeah, I can't see it now.
that's the way it is.
Like, for instance, in December, you don't want to be chairman anymore in January, so you tell Trish, put that on, or Rochelle, put that on the agenda so we can vote on it first.
Okay, so I move that we accept 3.3 as proposed, but that the staff come up with a provision that the chairperson may add items to the agenda. Do members want it? What if we went to the chairperson and said, could we have this on the agenda? He says no. Could we outvote that? You want to outvote that?
It's up to you guys, I would recommend if you're going to do that, that you have to have a quorum, say yes, we want that on the agenda if the chairperson says no.
Why in the world would we say no?
The problem is we won't be able to get it on the agenda to vote.
But why would they say no? I mean,
Well, I mean,
he's power tripping,
you could just say,
or she's
we
power
want to
tripping.
discuss that, we don't want to, you know.
Oh, gosh, as a point of order or something? Okay,
so.
so what's the motion?
My motion is to, leave this item in here, but allow the chairperson or, what's our quorum? Or 4 members of the planning commission to, under signature, to add an item to the agenda.
Under signature?
Well, we gotta make sure that we gotta have some process to make sure that.
Oh, I see.
So 4 of you sign,
Yeah,
if
like
they want them
submit
on
a
the
letter.
Mr. Harris, help us out.
So the county council does something very, very similar to this. So the chairman of the council can add any item onto the agenda that he wants. We do agenda reviews in conjunction with the manager's office, and if he wants an item added on, he tells us, we add it on. This is all before the public notice happens.
Right.
If another member of the council wants an item on, they have to have another council member who is with them to add that on, to bypass the chairman. They can talk to the chairman and they can say, hey, will you put this on? And then if the chairman says no, then all they have to do is get another person. It's not under signature or anything that formal. It's usually just an email saying, hey, this person actually says, you know.
Okay,
So-
I don't have any problem with that. Maybe 2, maybe 3, I don't know.
I like it, I mean, if we have it
Use that same
already,
verbiage.
yeah, if we already have it
Yeah,
in
and
place.
we can find whatever our policy is and
Alright.
implement that. But I would recommend, since there are so many of you, a quorum seems appropriate. You know, if Chairman Hope says no, then I would say you probably want to have the majority of you saying this needs to be addressed.
All right, my motion is to approve this with the addition of the chairperson adding and 4 members approving also with addition to the agenda by email or whatever.
I second that.
So it's a motion to approve with his comments by Commissioner Elton and seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Elton?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Order of discussion agenda items. I don't have any problem with any of the changes except subparagraph 6. In my opinion, the chairperson at the end of all comments should say, I open this for public hearing, and, I mean, he knows when it's time, he's asked for a motion. So all I should say is, I open it for a public hearing, he knows when it's time to close it, I close this public hearing, he can do that. We can outvote him, but the chairperson, 99.9% is gonna get it right. So, I think we should state, the chair may close the public hearing or comment period as deemed appropriate without a vote, second, or vote of the commission. That was in, I think that was in my proposal, it's been deleted. So let's see if I got any other questions. Let's see, that last sentence, what does that mean? Let's see, public hearing should comply with the public comments should be relevant and not exceed 60 minutes. Is that good policy, the 60-minute provision? So you've limited it to 2 minutes, which is your prerogative because you have control of procedure. Is that appropriate, or is the 60 minutes appropriate?
I think these are 2 different things, aren't they?
No, she's saying that public comment be restricted to 60 minutes. So the way the council does it is they say how many people would like to comment on this, they raise their hand, and then the chairman determines based upon how many people wanna comment, how long they get.
Right, I've seen that.
But the current policy is we've got it, the chairperson can do that because he's in charge of the procedure. So my question is, do we want to leave that 60 minutes in or just delete that whole last sentence? Okay, I make a motion that we approve section 6 as proposed, but leave in the chair may close a public hearing. Let's see. Or open it as deemed appropriate, and that last sentence be deleted.
So Commissioner Elton motions for approval with his additions, I guess I'll say.
So there's leave in that chair may close it and delete that last sentence.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
And second by Commissioner Dow. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Subsection 7 of 3.3. It's okay, I think, at the chairperson's, that it have to possibly on there's discretion. Motions regarding the specific item will be entertained followed by a vote. 8, well, let's see, I move that we approve that with that apostrophe S on that subsection 7.
A second.
So it's been motioned for approval by Commissioner Elton, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Elton?
Subsection 8.
Commissioner Elton?
Thank you. Subsection
Aye.
8.
Passes unanimously.
I think it's on purpose.
Hey, this is your system. You're just following orders.
Subsection 3.38, it's got the deletion of once a motion and second have been received, the chair will ask for a vote on the item. I don't know why that would be proposed to be deleted. I move that we leave that subsection 8 in.
So Commissioner Elton moves to approve as stated, correct?
Subsection 3.38.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Dow. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next
Commissioner
section.
Elton?
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
That-
I figured you'd catch on
She's
by now.
typing.
It's on purpose.
She went fast.
The next section is not numbered, it's reconsideration of commission decision. I don't know that there's any state law on this, I don't know that there's anything in the county code.
There is in the county code about filing an appeal, that would be their
10
next
days. I
step.
think we've got something on that 10 days. Okay, I move that we delete that section as proposed.
Second.
So it's been moved that we delete that section by Commissioner Elton, second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 It passes unanimously
Did it.
with a nudge.
You finally got him.
Okay, 3.4, I think the changes are probably good. We need a period at the end of the first line there, scheduled meetings. Let's see, maybe not. Let's see, each member of the commission shall attend regular scheduled meetings.
Period, yeah.
Period. Yeah, plan commission members who, and then it should have an R there, are not able to attend. Let's see, development department. Okay, I move that we approve 3.4, first paragraph, whatever, with the addition of a period and an R, and the changes that have been proposed. Oh, let me just say one thing. Let's see, the last sentence there, the commission may recommend removal of the appointed commission member to the county council. And I move that we add for good cause to that last phrase.
So we're talking about absenteeism.
Yeah.
Like, do we need a defined, you know, if they missed 3 or 4 consecutive meetings or something?
That's probably an idea.
I mean, life happens. We all need to be gone for different periods,
Wait a minute,
but
I missed you meeting on fire?
you're not.
You tried to be fired.
But, I mean, honestly, in the 4 years, 5 years I've been here, there's some members that missed the whole year. So, I mean, I think we need to narrow it down.
So you don't like the last sentence?
I think it's too vague.
Well, you just said I had that for good cause, but I think we have.
Or even a habitual absentee.
Okay, I move that we make these changes and delete the last sentence.
I can live with that.
So it's been
Second.
moved by Commissioner Elton to accept it as is with the recommended grammatical errors and deleting the last sentence. It's been seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Commissioner Elton.
next.
No.
I said.
Aye. It passes unanimously.
During hearings, I have no problem with deleting that. I need to delete that as indicated. Probably a little too specific conduct of hearings.
In the next section.
Yeah, it's the next paragraph in 3.4.
So it's, the next paragraph's been moved to approve with deleting all of it.
The ex parte contact, is that what
No, this is conduct during
Oh,
hearings.
contact, okay.
Okay, delete, what would have been 12?
Conduct during
Conduct.
hearings, it starts with the objective of fundamental fairness.
Okay,
and ends-
get rid of that whole thing.
I second that.
So it's been moved to approve with deleting that portion, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
I move that we approve the proposed section 3.5, which is just a synopsis of the prior paragraph, a little more succinct and not quite so detailed.
Second.
So I didn't hear the change.
So we deleted the conduct during the hearing. 3.5 actually is a synopsis of that prior provision. It says, during meetings, the chair will foster a respectful environment. Communication should be civil. Individual debates are prohibited. The chair may set time limits for speakers. Commission members should focus on gathering information, refrain from expressing personal opinions and collective hearing. And that's the new section. It's kind of a synopsis of the one we deleted.
So it's moved to accept with those additions
Yes, 3.5.
by Commissioner Elton, seconded by Commissioner Beckstrom. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Elton. Aye. Great. It passes unanimously.
Next section, ex parte contact. This is a little bit detailed. I move that we insert the county code provisions regarding ex parte contact in lieu of that section. And it's only a couple of sentences. It just says we can't have ex parte contact. And delete all these, add the county code provisions, and the reason I suggest we include the county code provision is that so a new planning commissioner can read these provisions and won't have to go read the entire county code to know they should talk to somebody before and vote on one of these issues we have.
I second that.
So Commissioner Elton moves to approve and accept as is, and seconded by Commissioner Scott.
Okay, not as is, as the county code provides, not as is here. We delete all this.
Oh, sorry, correct, right, correct, with his corrections. Seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you.
Section 4, I propose that we accept that as the amendments as proposed. Delete those provisions and add that one sentence.
So Commissioner Elton recommends for approval as is, that section. As proposed. Seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
I move that we accept, as indicated, section 5 and 5.1 as amended.
So Commissioner Elton motions that we accept it as is. Second.
There's one added word in 5, absenteeism is added, or is deleted, and 5.1 is new,
So as is then, right?
as proposed.
As proposed. Seconded
Yes.
by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Delete the rest of, there was a whole bunch of extraneous materials that were added to the old minutes or the old.
That you added.
And that we not, those not, I know that we not, specifically did not include this girl chairperson.
Oh, I think that was just for her
Wonderful. It's been motioned that we
research.
do not include the rest of the additions.
So what she's saying is that really was her proposal.
I mean, role of the chairman, et cetera.
Well,
Yeah, all that. Okay, I'll do the rest of what we had in our original package.
wonderful.
Not be approved.
And it's seconded by?
Second.
So motion by Commissioner Elton, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Stetz? Commissioner Stetz?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Moving right along to, that's it, right on that one? To C, text amendment, Tooele County Land Use, Chapter 4.
Can I ask a suggestion?
Yeah.
I think most of us have read this, maybe some have not. What if we just said, any questions, make a motion?
I like that, because it was all emailed out before.
Right.
Okay,
We've
good.
gone over it.
But point of order though, I love that, but do we still have to open up public hearings?
Yes, we'd have to, so
So,
the question is, do we want her to make her presentation or just ask questions?
Right.
She could
It's all
introduce it, this
posted
is amendment to
online,
this,
too,
this, and
then.
this, but not go in detail. Any
So
questions?
as Commissioner Hilton solely states, it's the chairman's
Wait a minute.
prerogative, and we're gonna be
Yeah.
corrected by the county attorney. Shush, you got it. Speak to us, young wise one.
I would suggest that she give a very short presentation just for the record.
Introduce it, introduce it.
Yes.
That'd be-
Wonderful. Please read the summary
Okay,
of chapter 4. Thank you, that was great.
just that first little thing, or just the project description?
Just your agenda item summary.
Yeah,
Okay.
tell us what the item is and your summary of it.
Okay, Trish Duclos presenting TCLUO 2024-116 as a text amendment summary to the Tooele County Land Use Code, Chapter 4, Supplementary and Qualifying Regulations.
Wonderful.
Do you have it in front of you? The Tooele County Community Development is requesting a land use ordinance update to chapter.
Yeah, the project descriptions,
To
right?
adjust verbiage on lots having,
Yeah, that's what I was asking, if you wanted me to read the descriptions, okay. So Tooele County Community Development is requesting a land use ordinance update to chapter 4, supplementary and qualifying regulations. These changes update verbiage on the lots having a greater than 30% slope. It also takes out the verbiage of animals requiring a CUP and updates the wording throughout the form from Department of Engineering to Community Development Department.
Awesome. Any questions?
No questions, but I had a comment. Sorry.
Sure.
You want to do the public hearing first?
Huh? Oh, yeah, the public hearing first, sorry.
As chairman, I open public hearing. Seeing none, as chairman, I close public hearing. You told me I could do it, just saying.
I did. I did.
Is it approved yet?
Now, at your comment.
Okay. My previous house, I had a slope that was horrible. I had to build a wall and a fence in order to have an ordinary backyard, so I appreciate this being addressed.
Awesome. Yes, I'd love that.
I have, is this, you're taking out like the animals and everything just because it's addressed in other?
Yeah, it was requiring like all of the animals that weren't just normal animals to have a CUP.
So it's kind of redundant because we've hashed that out several times. Mr. Chairman,
Yeah. 2 years.
Well, you want to do the motion, go ahead.
Okay.
I move we approve
Probably longer.
recommendations to chapter I have to go back. Chapter 4, thanks.
Of TCLUO.
Yeah, Tooele County Land Use Ordinance as written, or as proposed.
It's been moved to recommend TCLO 2024-116. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
By the way, that was proposed by Commissioner Scott, seconded by Commissioner Beckstrom. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 It passes unanimously. No sleeping. Next one.
Okay. Presenting TCLUO 2024-117. Staff has recognized that there were wrong references to the Tooele County Land Use Chapter 21 Land Use Wildland Urban Interface Overlay Zone with the WUI code. So changes, just update those code numbers to correctly reference those.
Great. Any questions? Move the open public hearing. Seeing none, I move that we close public hearing.
Well, you don't move, you just close it.
Sure, closed. Do I hear a motion?
I know that we propose, or that we approve the proposed changes to TCLUO 2024-117.
So it's been moved by Commissioner Dow that we approve recommendation for the approval of TCLU 2014-117. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion?
You can't raise your hand.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Can I just ask a question? We're approving these, but could we ask that the minutes indicate that we're recommending approval?
That's why verbiage is the recommendation, but thank you. It passes unanimously. So the next one, Mrs. Tooele.
Yeah, presenting TC LUO 2024-118. Staff is recommending, so Tooele County Community Development is requesting a land use ordinance update to chapter 35 subdivisions. The changes are to update minor title changes as well as updating the processes and timelines to reflect what state code requires.
Any questions for Trish?
I have a question or comment. The proposal to 35-4-6 indicates that the final plat application would be reviewed and approved by the Community Development Department, not the Planning Commission. That might be appropriate, but I think we ought to have maybe a little discussion if that's, if the Planning Commission thinks that appropriate. I think typically it comes back to the Planning Commission for final approval, doesn't it?
For minor subdivisions?
No, the final plat application.
Oh, what section?
35-4-6.
35-4. Oh, no, yeah, because this was changed just recently. This is what state code is requiring. And what you guys had previously voted on before is that you see it one time in preliminary and then staff does the final.
Why is it on here if we already voted on it?
For what? 4-6?
Are we just cleaning this one up to reflect what we voted on in the other section, right?
So it states, after the pre-design conference, after the preliminary plat is approved.
Oh, it's just changing the pre-design to like preliminary plan. So it's not, because we don't require a pre-design anymore. So it's just preliminary plan.
Okay.
That's all it was changing, because we don't see the pre-design anymore unless they specifically request to. It's not a requirement anymore, I guess I should say that. Yeah. So we just changed it to preliminary plan.
Just one comment, I was looking at 35-3-2 on minor subdivisions, and I don't see anywhere in that section who approves it, the minor subdivision. Maybe you just take a look at that. Well, you can do it later, I'm just.
Yeah, so the final plat for each phase shall be approved by the Community Development Department.
Where does it say that?
4-2. Oh, that's a major one, sorry.
Well, that's just a comment. I was reviewing all of that and I couldn't see who approved the minor. It's submitted to the community development, but I don't see any approval in that section. Anyway, that's not on the agenda, so.
We can add it in there, can't we?
I was just waiting, yeah, I was just waiting for her.
I don't think she's gonna do that tonight.
No. That's not what I was asking, but are you good?
Yeah, did you want me to add that in there or
No.
not? No?
Well, that was a clarifying.
It was just a question.
Okay.
Public hearing is now open.
Okay.
Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any further questions, concerns? Are we willing to receive a motion? Tonight.
Everybody's sleeping.
I move that we approve TCLUO 2024-118 as recommended.
So it's been moved to recommend the approval of TCLUO 2024-118 by Commissioner Dow.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Beckstrom. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. I personally have no comments. Does anybody else, since it's on the agenda? Any more comments?
I'd request that the planning
I have a point of clarification real quick. I needed to abstain from on the vote for the minutes for the August meeting because I was not here. So if you can just mark that in the minutes. Sorry.
Same with Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Scott and Commissioner Bartholomew. But Commissioner Elton, I did not hear your comment.
I'd request that the planning department provide water for all of us at our meetings, especially if they go
I
over.
like that idea. I mean, the councilmen get water and snacks. They get a whole box.
If it goes over an hour, we
You
get
know,
snacks.
But anyways, so move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. It was great.
Recording stopped.